Good morning. I can see, I always feel like romper room when these things start. We have Carmen and Deborah and Kat and Leanne and, Leanne, that's just reminded me, I owe you a phone call, don't I? If you want to call me after this, I'm happy to chat. And Terry Adams, Mum, how you doing? Jared, Barista Cliff, good morning. Lovely to see so many people zooming in with us this morning. You'll notice the chat at the bottom of the screen. If you want to let me know where you are joining us from this morning, that would be fantastic. And I know a number of people messaged to say that they couldn't make the time live, but they're looking forward to the recording. So am I, because it's going to take me about a week to pull that one together. So hang tight, and it will be there. We have Dolores. Good morning. Oh, we've got Dolores in twice. See, Dolores was so keen to get here. She zoomed in twice. Don't you love that commitment?
Absolutely.
Awesome. And Brad, how you going? All right. Hey, in the interest of time, because everyone is busy, let's kick off. So, as you can see on the screen, I have the amazing Steve. I'm still calling you Yankee. We did have this discussion in Cairns last week. Steve Jaenke, or Jaenke, however you want to pronounce it. I think he pronounces his name incorrectly, and I should know. I've known him for a long time. Joining us today, and I'm really excited about this conversation because, for a while I've been seeing how we're transitioning with the adoption of AI towards this movement of how we're looking for information and what that's going to look like and how that's going to impact us as business owners. So really excited to be having this conversation, and I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this morning because I do think this is a really important one that we get our head around. So before we do kick off, as always, I would just like to acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional Aboriginal people of the lands and waters in which we're gathering, acknowledge their descendants, elders past, present and emerging, and of course any Aboriginal people or Torres Strait Islanders, First Nations people that we may have joining us from outside of our areas. Today I am coming to you from the Gold Coast, which is the land of the Yugambeh people, and I am from Bundjalung country in northern New South Wales. If you do know where your country is, or you would like to pay respects to the lands that you are gathering on, please do pop that into the chat. I love learning all of the different nations and where we're coming from. So that being said, Steve, should we kick off? Should we get into this? Because I'm pretty excited about this combo.
Yeah, we're sort of we've been here for 5 minutes, so let's get rolling. Yeah,
let's get rolling. Awesome. So let's start by setting the scene a little bit. So SEO, Steve, tell us a little bit about, you got a lot of street cred when it comes to search engine optimization. So let's, how about you kind of set the scene, tell us a little bit about your street cred for those who may not have come across your work before, and why up until now, let's not jump ahead. So up until now, why has SEO been so important, and how have you seen people be able to access and manipulate the system for their benefit?
Sure. So I started building websites in 1998. I thought they were glorified documents online, so I didn't take that any further until a mate of mine a few years later asked if I could build him a website, and then I just had it as a side gig while I was doing nursing. It wasn't until around 2013 that I actually started to take this thing seriously, learned about SEO, completely screwed up my website. It got blacklisted by Google and went, all right, let's actually figure this thing out. In 2018, we were listed in the top 25 global SEO companies. We've also won international awards in web excellence for SEO. We've been global finalists in the Global Search Awards for at least 5 years, I think. And we've also won national awards as well, Raw, a couple of others, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, so been doing this for a long time, and most recently, I looked at a client because we're doing monthly reports. We achieved, we helped them achieve a 1,106% return on investment. So yeah, it's a really powerful channel.
We kind of know, for those of us that are more lay people in the sense of SEO, we kind of understand SEO as keywords, right? Like, what's your keywords? What do you want to be known for? And then using them to write blogs and do that kind of stuff. But there's a lot more that's gone into SEO from a technical perspective as well as digital PR. And I think all of this kind of helps set the scene for what we're seeing going on, right? So do you want to just, without going down the rabbit hole, just kind of share a little bit about the magic behind SEO, that it's not just keywords and semantic phrases. So what kind of goes into good SEO?
Yeah, so it is funny that you mentioned the whole keyword thing, because it is a bit of an outdated methodology. Keywords are still important with the sense that there are certain things that people are searching for, but I always look at it from the perspective of Google is on the line here. If you're searching for something and you get a whole heap of results that just aren't relevant, you're going to jump over to Bing, you're going to go to Yahoo, you're going to go to ChatGPT now, because that's an option as well. So they really need to be presenting you with the most relevant information that you're searching for. And to put that in a different way to how it helps you, you need to be presenting the answer to those questions in a succinct way, as thoroughly as possible. And the best way to do that is through content.
And we're going to talk a little bit about a lot about content, because this is kind of where we're headed. But before we get into the new rules of visibility, I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I think it's relevant for all of us. Google had an accidental data breach the other week, well, not data breach, a leak, shall we say, about their algorithm that they've guarded really, really closely until now. And then, what was it, about 2 weeks ago, this big leak happened that there was thousands and thousands and thousands of lines of code, and this is what makes up what Google's looking for, et cetera, et cetera. You peeled back the curtain on this. What have you learned from what came out from that leak, and how can we use some of that information now as we begin to transition towards what we know is coming?
Yeah, so I learned a couple of things. One of the most interesting thing that I learned was that SEO is quite a dogma, in the sense that a lot of people, especially influencers in the industry, were going, hey, this big thing has happened, and everyone's gone, yeah, you're either lying, or we already knew that, or you're not really an SEO expert unless you already knew these things. And what I found most interesting is it's not so much the fact that this thing has been leaked and we've learned all of these new things. It's more that clarification of, oh yeah, we were right about that, but also Google lies. So while a lot of people go and listen to Google Central and John Mueller and all of these guys that I'm probably speaking a foreign language and speaking about strangers to you guys, it's interesting that the things that Google has said doesn't work in this leak. It shows that they absolutely do work. So a couple of things that to bring it back to something that's actually useful. They've said that they've devalued backlinks. So backlinks are links from other websites to your website. So I look at it as an endorsement. This person is endorsing your website, saying these guys are trustworthy, and because they're a trusted entity in Google already, then Google trusts your website as well because they're endorsing you. They've said, Google said that they don't pay as much attention to that, but based on this leak, it is still a prominent factor.
So backlinks have always been a bit of a, I don't know, a wobbly kind of thing, because there was a lot of agencies, again, agencies that would say, hey, we can get you a whole lot of backlinks. But we know there's a difference between, not all backlinks are created equal, right? So if we're, as everybody on the call, if we're looking for a good quality backlink, or we're looking for backlinks, what should we be looking for?
I think you should look at them from a brand perspective, not just from an authority perspective. Like you could get a link, let's say that looking at people as websites, because that's an easy way to look at it. You could get a link, so to speak, or Donald Trump can go up and say, Tracy is a fantastic person. I've known her for a long time, and I'm not going to even try to do his little thing, but you can look at that as he's an authority in his own right. But how does that affect your brand? And how does that affect how people perceive you? So if you're on a website that may seem like it's very trustworthy, but it's actually really negative towards your brand, it has either nothing to do with your brand, or it's the opposite of what you're trying to achieve. So you're an eco-friendly company, for example, and you've got a mining site link. That can be really damaging. So it's a matter of trying to find those websites that are going to not only be authoritative, an authority in the industry, but also have the same values as what you do, and just reaching out to them and saying, hey, we're here, just wanted to make contact, and not just going straight for the, hey, can you give us a link? Because it doesn't work like that anymore. You're going to get a lot of ghosting, and you're not going to get a response at all with those better websites. You might get it something from a smaller website. It'll usually be, yeah, sure, that'll be $200.
It was really interesting because you and I, and I know Kat's on the line as well. We were all in Cairns last week at Tropical Innovation Festival, and we had a great opportunity to have a chat with Phil, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce his surname. I want to say Furlinger, but it's probably wrong, who was one of the co-founders of Xero. And one of the really interesting things he said when we were having a chat was, pop a link directly to our website if you are wanting to develop a partnership or you're wanting to create a relationship with us, because that then when you come to us and say, hey, we think we're a good fit, and here's our values, here's our ethics, here's our client base, here's our everything, you can then say, oh, well, we've also had our, we love what Xero's doing, and we've had a link you guys set up for a while, and like, here's how much traffic we've been pushing through. So I think also we need to, from that brand perspective, particularly moving forward as we're moving towards the AI rush, which we're about to tap into, I think it's also important that we start thinking about who are those companies, who are those brands, who are those people that we want to align ourselves with, and potentially putting those connections in place ourselves as a way to begin that conversation. Is that something that that you would agree with as well?
Yeah, it is against Google's policy to have what you could consider a resource page, which is what he was talking about, in the sense that you're not supposed to do link exchanges and that sort of thing. But again, how are they going to know? So yeah, I think that is definitely worth pursuing. Is my short answer to that.
Probably you're not going to put a couple of hundred links on, right? Like, we're in the middle of developing a page that's like people we trust and tech we love. And at any given time, we're probably going to have like a dozen tech things and half a dozen or a dozen people. So I think again, it's not going crazy, but yeah, wandering through. Okay, so I'm really interested to know because the chat's very quiet, so I'm not sure whether chat's not working or what's going on. I can see Wendy's on the call, so Wendy, can I get you to try and pop a note in the chat, and if not, just drop me a text and let me know
We've
whether
got
it's working
Jared
or
as
not.
well.
Jared's got a raised hand, so I'm not sure whether that means that he's been unable to pop a note in the chat or it's saying chat is disabled. Okay, let's see what we can do about that while we are chatting. So let's while I start to get my little preoccupation into trying to fix this chat thing while we're online. Let's talk a little bit about moving towards AI. I mean, really, it's been 18 months now since the world has been mesmerized by OpenAI and ChatGPT, certainly starting to make a big difference. And we're moving towards this thing that we're calling multimodality, right? So as I try to figure out how to switch chat on, can you share a little bit about what multimodality is and how you see the movement with AI becoming more and more ubiquitous into our everyday lives?
Yeah, so it's just a fancy term for being able to utilize content across different pathways. So it can read, so Google can see images now, or at least to a degree. In 2020, they actually came out with MOM, which is multimodal something or other. Which basically the demonstration that they did, they had a pair of sneakers and the person was wanting to go and climb a mountain, and he showed Google the sneaker and said, like an image of the sneaker and said, is this useful for climbing Mount Kosciuszko? I think it was. And it provided him with all of these various different articles around people who had used that particular shoe for climbing Mount Kosciuszko, as well as some options for other shoes that might have been a better fit. No pun intended there. And that's the world that we're moving into, especially when they start bringing back Google Glass and Apple brings out their version as well, which I think Apple will beat them to market with that anyway. I think they're already there. When we're able to integrate augmented reality into the natural world that we're walking through already, it will become more prominent. We will be able to look at something and go, hey, Google, or hey, Siri, or whatever device we're using. Oh, God, it's already started. Go away. My phone just activated. What is that plant? Is that edible? Is that something that I can pick and touch, or is it going to harm me? Or I really like that scooter that's in this shop front. Where else can I buy that online for a cheaper price because it's currently listed at 1,500, and it goes through it, gets an image of that and takes it and searches for the best price and different use cases. If you're looking for different use cases, that sort of thing. That's my version of multimodal anyway. That's how I see it being utilized.
I think I just got chat finished, fixed in that moment. So awesome. My understanding of multimodality and where I see it really starting to kick in is is we're already interacting with speakers, right? Like more and more of us have smart speakers at home. Kids are able to get Alexa to read them bedtime stories, all of that kind of stuff. When you think about it, that is multimodality, right? At its core, that's all multimodality is. So the way that when we're in the car and we're, hey, Google, I need to go here or whatever, we're already using it. That is multimodality. Where I see us moving, and this is the real meat of the conversation I want to get into, Steve, is the research is kind of showing us out of the States now. And if we're looking at the videos and things that are coming through from OpenAI around ChatGPT and where they're moving with for Omni and into GPT-5, we can see that they're really setting us up to have those natural conversations with AI. With that in mind, how is Google, how are the search engines going to keep up? And how can we as business owners, how do we need to be thinking about this now? Because we're not going to jump on Google or Bing or any of it and say, hairdresser near me, or how do I interact with this? We're literally going to be sitting in front of our screen or in the car or whatever and saying, I want to go here, tell me about the history of the glowworms or something. How can we now structure our content, or what do we need to be thinking about to start to position ourselves towards this transition?
Yeah, it's been heading this way for a while now. And in May, I think it was, in the US, Google actually put in what's called AI overviews. Which is basically, instead of providing you with a list of different websites, they just answered the question in Google search itself. Unfortunately, it went really poorly, and people were encouraged to drink their own wee for various different remedies and that sort of thing. It's prototype, right? So it's going to get things wrong, and we're still a fair way from having that AI overviews in Australia, because they've got to work out these bugs. But that's fundamentally where we're going. I mean, they're even talking about removing the organic listings entirely. I'm not sure how they will monetize, whether they'll have like Google ads down the side or as part of their AI overviews. But eventually, I think that it's just going to look a lot like ChatGPT, in the sense that you can be driving along, ask it a question, and I don't know who else has come across, just to digress for a second, ChatGPT actually has a chat feature now where you can have the voiceover. So I've already started having chats with GPT while I'm in the car, and I'll create this whole thing, this whole conversation. That's sort of where I see it going. Google will no longer be a matter of going to the desktop or on your phone and going, where do I find a Italian restaurant? You just ask it by saying, hey Google, or hey Siri, whatever your device is, and then it will produce a response that it will vocalize to you, and that will be search.
It's interesting you say that. For anyone watching and those watching the replay, if you have ChatGPT on your phone, you'll notice when you open up the app on the little search function there, you've got a microphone setting. So you can just click the microphone and have a conversation with it. You can also now upload photos or videos and say, explain to me what this is, tell me what that is, etc. So, we can now be traveling into a place that we don't know. It's the ChatGPT app, Jared. So just look for the ChatGPT symbol in the App Store, and it's the same app. So, you could be traveling and literally get you've got your blur on. Literally say to it, you want your kids to create your travel itinerary for you. So kids can be in the back of the car and say, we're off to, Murwillumbah today. give me an itinerary and I want you to read it to me in the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants, right? So the kids can do that. So the voices are starting to come in. So this is 100% where we're going. Volkswagen have signed a deal with, I think it's Alexa, so that'll be happening. All cars built the second half of this year. It'll be pre-built in with either Mercedes or BMW that have signed an agreement with, I think it was Alexa as well. So we're definitely moving into this, and it means that we're going to be interacting with our car, turn the car on, turn the car off, lock the car, do this, do that. All of this will be happening with voice and with visual cues and recognition. So that's fabulous. What does that mean for us? Like we're kind of gotten used to, oh, we need to write a blog with this phrase in it because we know people are searching for that, or we need to create video because we know people are searching for that. If we're moving to this pay to play model, or, and by pay to play, I mean, folks, if you're listening, it's, much like running Google ads, right? If we want to be known for this thing, we're going to have to pay to interact. Now, that's one side of the coin that I'm hearing is going to be the way that things will go. I have some thoughts on this, which I'm happy to share in a second, but what can we be doing now? Like, what does this look like?
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts first.
I like that. That's the like, oh shit, I hadn't really thought this through. No, you'd have a thought. My big thing is community. My big thought is community, right? You've got about, I reckon, 12 months to really be doubling down and build that really strong community around you, that when people say, hey, I need, a person who can help me get my next C-suite job and position myself, I'm going to get bang, that's Wendy you need to chat to. I've got a range of products that I need to get, that's Kat, you need to chat to Kat. Whatever that thing is, you really need to be building and investing in your own community, because as we move more towards this asking the AI who it is we want to talk to or what that's going to be, I believe more and more, I'm already starting to do it, we're going to be going back to our friends or back to our own little kitchen table of networks and going, who do you know that does this and who do you trust? Because we're really going to need to build off that. But what's your thoughts, Steve?
A similar spin to community. So I think brand is going to be absolutely essential, and building ecosystems as websites. So instead of having a standard website and then maybe having a blog in there that you update every now and again, it's going to be even more important to establish what's called topical authority. So instead of covering something a little bit, you cover it completely. And that seems like a lot of work, but that's where AI comes in. You fill in this ecosystem so that you can capture the person and sort of have them in your little universe so that they don't really want to leave. Everything that they need around that topic is there. And that way they keep coming back. You don't need to rely on search for them to find you. You bring them in through social, or AI's got to get its information from somewhere. Like, it cannot create new stuff. It needs to get that new stuff from somewhere. So if you're the authority on that thing, then there's the potential that it'll draw from you. I mean, we've already seen that with what's called structured data. So if you look for a recipe, you'll see those little cards come up with the recipe as an option there. Or if you're searching to buy something, you've got the little card with a shoe, for example, and it's X amount of dollars, and there's this amount of reviews. It'll be an extended version of that, where I don't know if you've seen AI overviews or not, but down the bottom it's got links to various different options where you can get more information. So if you're establishing that topical authority, there's a higher chance that the AI overviews will pick up on that, utilize that information, and then send the person back to your ecosystem if they need more information.
Topical authority, if you're interested in diving more into this, the best place that I can suggest going for the information is HubSpot. They've done some amazing blogs around, they call it pillar content, and they call it the hub and spoke model. So if you are, let's take, and Kat, I apologize, I'm going to use you as a guinea pig here. Let's say Kat really wants to build out her authority around food photography. That would be a pillar. And then from there, some of the spoke content could be use your iPhone for food photography, using your iPhone indoors for food photography, using your iPhone outdoors for food photography, using your Samsung for food photography, you know, how to position your food to get, so food photography becomes that central pillar, but then it's every single little thing that you can think that spokes off it becomes this whole ecosystem, as Steve's talking about. And it's thinking through that customer journey. So at what point are they likely to enter into your universe wanting information? And then how can you move them along so they can continue to get? So it might be that you start writing all of this content about food photography, and then you realize that, oh, okay, well, if they want food photography, maybe they're doing product photography as well. So you can start, you know, spurring them off onto different avenues as well. So that's what we mean when we're talking about, you know, pillar content or topic authority or hub and spoke model. But if you Google at the moment, if you Google pillar content or developing pillar content, HubSpot have done some amazing blogs and certainly some downloads that you can grab for free to really build out what that looks like. Do you think, Steve, that we need to be doubling down on repurposing our content right now? So instead of just creating blogs, should we be doing video and audio as well? Because we can talk about some of the AI that's around to help us do that without having to spend too much time or energy around it. But what's the importance of covering all of the different content formats?
Yeah, so it goes back to accessibility. And traditionally we've done that very poorly, mostly because we just don't have time. But now there's AI. I mean, there's I don't know what the proper term for it is, but deep fakes, where you can actually clone yourself virtually and have yourself doing the video, and you just feed it with the content. There's options now where you can save yourself time and still get the work done. I think that addressing the different learner types as well is essential, and it's something that we haven't really been able to do up until now in a cost-effective and time-efficient way. Google also is, rewards the right word. They reward sites that have audio, that have video, that have written content, because it's more thorough, it's more thought out, and you're actually addressing the question in a number of different ways. So they're more likely to position you higher up in the search engine.
Interested in some of those AI platforms. On my LinkedIn account, I think it was yesterday, I did a segment for Koshie's Business Builders on repurposing repurposing content using AI. So you'll see a bunch of tools that I talk about there, things like Get Munch, HeyGen, Synesia, Cast Magic if you're looking for audio. They're all really, they all take some learning. So it's not something you can just open up and go, oh my God, look at that. They do all take a little bit of learning. But, you know, if you've already got a pre-written blog, just to be able to upload that blog and it will spit it out for you as, you know, a video for LinkedIn, for Facebook, for TikTok, for whatever. Here's an audio file. Here's some social media files. and it will, literally spin that for you about, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 different ways, depending on what you're requiring. Really, really helpful. So definitely you want to check some of those out. The only thing I would say to that is, where possible, try not to sign in for any annual agreements. Things are moving so quickly right now. It may cost you a little bit more to go month by month, but I definitely think in the long term it's going to save you some cash just to be able to jump ship when needed.
The other thing there as well, maybe not so much with Gen Z because they grew up with the tech, but I was watching this video from Carmen. I can't remember her last name. She's a media trainer, and one of the things that she was saying is people generally feel that people are more authoritative, or they're a higher authority if they're on TV, because we grew up seeing people on TV and going, wow, that person must have done something to get there, so I better pay attention. And you get that same sort of, I still get the feeling that someone is doing really amazing things when I see them on YouTube. Even though they don't have a lot of followers, it's still like, oh, wow, you're on YouTube, you're doing these things. How are you doing that? It just, I don't know. There's something, at least from my perspective, that gives more credibility seeing someone in video. And if you're going to their website, you're not just reading an article, you're seeing them presenting the article. You're going to develop trust easier.
It was a lovely Carmen Braidwood that you were talking to, because she just said, thanks for the shout out, Steve. So definitely, Carmen does some great stuff around media training. So if that's of interest to you, definitely want to drop her a note and connect with Carmen on LinkedIn, or drop Steve or I a note. I'm happy to put you in contact. We're starting to get some questions through and want to, she is online. Steve's like, oh, she's online. Look, she's watching me on Zoom. I must be an authority. We're starting to get some questions through, and folks, start popping them in, because I want to make sure that we get to what it is that you're interested in. Now, Susan has a great question here, so I'm going to touch on that one first. And that's, what do you think will happen to the older folks, brackets her target market? Oh, sorry. Don't you love it when the tech just works? So I'm back. The digital guide that throws her earphones around. So what do you think will happen to the older folks in my target market that won't or can't use the new AI search functionality if my content is tailored towards AI?
It's terrible to say, but Google doesn't care. It doesn't. It cares about money and making more of it. And they're seeing this as a way to do that. If they find that there's a big drop off in the number of users, then they'll probably backpedal. But I really don't think that they care. So maybe a different platform, finding out where they live. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I've heard a lot of millennials are jumping on there now. So maybe, yeah.
That means all the old people will go somewhere else if the millennials are on TikTok, because once the old people take over a platform, the young guys go, oh, so Susan, I would say to you, build your email list. You know, your people are probably willing and able and wanting emails from you. So I definitely right now be doubling down on building that email list. You may also consider going to lumpy mail, the old fashioned getting something in the post, doing really, really well right now. So, yes, AI is going to play a part of it. Yes, I would definitely look into how you can develop new segments, or, is it adult children like me of older parents that are going to be finding that content for the aging population? I also think we're going to need to start training our seniors on how to utilize this stuff. The government's pushing them towards using platforms online, etc. So I think there is going to be a bit of a push for senior training around AI and digital tools, because it's actually going to open their world up a lot more when they don't have to type, when they can just talk and grab things really visually. So I do think there's that opportunity to be part of that solution for them. So maybe you need to consider, how can I build in that education piece for them, that I'm starting to educate them now around where things are moving, so they become even stickier to my brand, because I'm the ones that help them, understand what this stuff is looking like. So
The other thing is, it's meant to be easier as well. So maybe it'll have the opposite effect. It won't necessarily leave them behind. It'll make it easier for them to jump in and just get answers to their questions as well. I mean, how easy is it to just go, hey, Google, where can I find this thing that I'm looking for? And then it just provides you with an answer, rather than having to go and try and type something in, or use your thumbs to try and craft a half decent message on your phone to try and find this thing. You're just using your voice, and then it's providing you with a response.
So Brad just said he's got to run. Thank you for joining us, Brad. You will get a copy of the recording. The next question is from Aisha. I think that with the embedding of AI across our community use apps, old people will be pulled along in some ways. I work with mostly people over 50, and they are into tech to some degree. 100%, Aisha. And you got to remember, we're in an aging population too, right? So, and I put myself in that bracket because I'm over 50, we have been using this for a period of time now. So as we begin to age and we're moving into that, nursing home, aged care facility, all of that kind of thing, this tech is going to be moving with us. So we're going to be more attuned to what that looks like. It's the people like my mum and dad that are 88 and 90 that are struggling now. That we're going to have those last few years with them of really needing to help them along. Any questions, pop them in, because we are starting to come towards the end of our session today. Steve, one of the things I wanted to cover, we talked about, personally, I think Google's days are numbered. This is my personal opinion. Knowing how we're going towards talking to our devices, and Bing's making a huge elevation in terms of people now using Bing, using chat, using Anthropic or Claude or all of these other things. For the first time, Google's really facing a huge amount of competition. And to me, Google don't really have a great solution yet in terms of their AI. So, a little bit concerned for what that looks like for them. But let's get really practical. I reckon we've probably got 12, 18 months, tops 3 years before this has completely shifted the dial on the landscape. Give me 3 things that we should be doing right now in our business to get us ahead, or at least, a fighting chance for what this brave new world is looking like.
Brave new world. Very good. The biggest thing that you can do is start looking at what that ecosystem looks like. So how do you actually get people to pay attention to your website and actually sign up to, not a newsletter because no one wants a newsletter, but sign up so that they are informed when you're doing stuff?
Except for my newsletter.
Oh, except for yours, of course.
Everybody wants my newsletter, Steve. So just, reframe. Oh, keep going, sorry.
I'll just backtrack. So nobody wants a newsletter except for Tracy's, because it's fantastic. But making sure that you're building out that ecosystem. So starting off now, because it's going to take some time to get that amount of content, even if you are utilizing AI. And figuring out, the next step is to figure out how to actually utilize AI effectively so that you're building out content that not that doesn't sound like AI written content, because as nice as it would be to write all of that content yourself, if you had the time to do that, you would have done it by now. So make use of the tools, but use them well, and learning how to use them well is the next step. And then from there, looking at these other tools that you can utilize so that you can go multimodal and have video content, audio content. You can do you can do this once and then spread it across these other technologies as well. So you write the content with AI, you then bring in the video side of things, you bring in the audio side of things. The audio side is even easier because it's just the tech's been around for a longer time than the video, and it's easier for tech to reproduce voice than it is to reproduce an image. Going multimodal, and then looking at what the next steps are that you can get people into your ecosystem, whether that's going to Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or wherever that is.
So for me, Dolores has a question there. How would you use effective marketing with AI as opposed to Google? I think for me, and Steve, keen to hear your thoughts, the AI supports Google right now, right? So right now, we still need Google. What we're doing is still the same as it kind of has been for the last few years. So you definitely still need to have one eye on SEO as it always has been right now, while you're starting to transition your content across other platforms and doing things. So when we're talking about effective marketing with AI versus Google, to me, they're kind of intertwined right now. So as Steve said, Dolores, for you, it's really about getting your head around what is available in terms of AI. And I think for anyone, the best investment they can make in their business right now is learning how to prompt. If you can learn how to prompt, and that's not just, like, I want to write a blog about this. No, it's really starting to learn about multi-pronged prompting. It's learning about delineation. It's learning about, how to create research from AI that you can then feed, because we know now from the research that's coming out that the AI tools don't care if the data or the content that you're feeding it is made up by AI or if it is hard-earned data. So if you're looking to create personas or other ways of answering questions or things, you can get AI to create those responses for you. Give me 20 different responses for this thing in, these different personas or whatever. It doesn't care then. So that's how it learns. So really investing the time to get good at prompting now is going to set you up for a world of success in the coming months. So that would be the big thing that I would say. Other thing for me, double down on your list, right? Really take the time to whatever you can do, build a database, build a list, because if you want to sell your business, if you want to grow your business, any of that, people want to see a list. They're not interested that you've got 5,000 people on Facebook. That's nice. You don't own that platform. If I have your email address, if I have some information about you, that's worth money. And it's worth money to companies, and it's worth money to you because that is your connection with your community. So really be thinking about where do you want your business to go, and how can you be developing that right now. Steve, what would be the thing that you would be encouraging people to do? And this is your opportunity. You've got an amazing online course that I've gone through. So let's talk a little bit about you've taken the time, you've taken your expertise, you've developed this AI and SEO course. Tell us a little bit about that while I'm looking through so we can pick the next questions.
Yeah, sure. So there's a couple of things with that I'll just address really quickly. So Google in March had an algorithm update where heaps of people got their website de-indexed because they were using AI content, or at least that's what they said was the reason. The reason wasn't so much the AI content. Google has stated numerous times across various different areas that they don't care whether it's AI generated or whether it's human written, so long as it's good content. It needs to address that question. And the reason why these websites were being de-indexed was because it was low quality content where they just went in and prompted GPT to go write an article about birds. And so it wrote an article about birds. And then they put it on their bird website and went, oh, well, why did that get de-indexed? So one of the things that I found interesting was utilizing our prompts. The AI generated content at this time performed better than the human written content in Google. So while everyone was having a micro apocalypse, we were actually sitting back and going, oh, well, that works. Let's keep doing that. And so these prompts are in the course, and I've just built this course around what I've learned from utilizing AI to really improve our methodologies, as well as utilizing the strategy, using AI as a strategy bot as well. So the prompts that we're using to develop content strategy, the prompts that we're using to create SEO strategies are all within this this course, as well as the foundational stuff in SEO as well, because knowing how to do SEO will help you prompt the bots better, because you'll know what you're looking for. So fundamentally, that is, oh yeah, it's got that Facebook link. Yeah, fundamentally, that's what we've created. So I can actually share parts of that if
The link, I've just popped the link to your course in the chat for people. And it was interesting you said that, you know, Google is actually indexing or you're getting better results from AI generated content. A couple of months ago, I shared some data on that in one of my newsletters. And the interesting thing was what we were seeing was part of the reason why that was happening is because AI is a lot more succinct in getting the information across, whereas humans, we tend to kind of waffle and add some superfluous words that aren't necessarily relevant to, you know, to what we think. And we think humans love stories, and we do, 100% we do. But sometimes if we're trying to get a point across, the AI is actually much better at just drilling down and going, oh, you want to know about birds, you want to know about this bird, you know, let's just give you that information there. So I think we can all take some learnings of what happens there and knowing how to use the AI fit for purpose. So if I'm writing a blog, if I'm writing something, I'll prompt the AI to say, you know, I now want you to adopt the persona of a headline writer, because that's a very different skill set to writing blogs. So really, you know, again, coming back to taking that time to learning how to use the AI properly. So, sorry, Steve, keep going.
We've actually gone and set an objective for it, as well as giving it a role. So you are the world's best copywriter who specializes in keyword research, for example, and then providing instructions. So this is what I want you to do, and then tone of voice that I want to present it in if it's writing something. So really making sure that the instructions are succinct and what to avoid as well. Like I found that when I was getting it to write content, it would conclude after every little spiel, and I didn't want it to do that. Or it would write in US English, and I wanted it to use Australian English so that I didn't have to go in and get rid of the Zs. It still isn't 100% there. I still got to go in and format it. But
and remembering that this stuff is evolving all the time. You know, we've already seen big changes since Omni came out. that the memory is going across, particularly if you're on the paid platform, memory is now going across all of your conversations. So as the more you interact with it, the more it's beginning to understand and provide context across every conversation that you're having. I don't get any US spelling anymore in any of my stuff. It's all UK English, which is great. In terms of formulas, Nat, it's really the best place to start with any conversation is I am, you are. I am a marketing agency looking to develop this type of content. You are adopting the persona of a content creation specialist in this kind of field. And then do the first run and then drill down, because you kind of need that first run to see, how broad it's going, and then you start, narrowing it down. So, hey, that was great, but I really want you to focus on, people over 40 that wear a Kubra hat, so then it'll start to really narrow down for you in terms of that. Jared's got a question. Sorry, go on. Yep.
Yeah, let's address that meta. I think it's really shit, to be honest.
Meta AI is rubbish. The only thing I found it good for, to be honest, is getting research on other meta products. So if you have a competitor or a collaborator that you want to see, why did that post work, why didn't it work, etc., you can ask it to drill down and give me some ideas around why that post from Nat worked about that, and it will look at Nat's Instagram page and go, based on this, blah, 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 you might want to try it for that. Sounded awesome for that. Considering it's owned by Meta, I think that probably makes sense.
But let's go down the Meta track for a second. So it makes a lot of sense for Google to be jumping into AI overviews because they're fundamentally an answering machine. That's always been the thing. They provide answers to your questions. Facebook's different. Facebook is about connecting people, and you don't really do that with AI. You can to a degree, but it's not fundamentally what AI is for. So if you're going to put in AI, it needs to be for a purpose, and it seems like they've just gone, everyone else is doing AI, so here you go. It doesn't make search better. In fact, it makes it worse. It doesn't really do anything other than I don't even know that how you've managed to compare those two products. I didn't even think to go to that. So it's
Meta's AI is called Llama, as in the animal, LLAMA. And the reason they created Llama was because they set it up as an open source, right? Which means that anyone can use it to play with or to begin to develop their own AI tools. Whereas if you're using something like Claude by Anthropic or ChatGPT by OpenAI, you have to pay for tokens to begin to develop products off the back. So where Llama is great is if you want to go down the rabbit hole a little more and begin to learn for yourself how you could maybe manipulate AI for your own business. But other than that, it's kind of shit, to be honest. I just wish they'd bugger it off and give us back to the old-fashioned search engine, but that's probably a webinar for its whole thing. Hey, we've got 1 minute to go. Any last questions, pop them into the chat. Just to let you know, I'm taking a month off the regular webinars this month, so I'm not going to do one this month. I have to get my book finished. I am getting harassed and harangued by the publisher, so I really need to drill down and focus on that. I will be back this week with my newsletter because I've taken a couple of weeks off from that. And I think it's really important that we keep this conversation going around, what we can be doing and get together with your friends and with your colleagues and what's working for you and how are you doing this and what does this look like. But now more than ever, I would suggest to you to get your kitchen table together. Get those people that are non-competitive but collaborative and maybe share a crossover of clients and start to think about, okay, well, how can we be sharing content on each other's platforms? How can we be pushing people back to each other's websites? Can we be doing webinars together? How can we be really developing our community together? Because like I said, I reckon you got about 12 months and this is going to look very, very different. So to Carmen's question earlier about, you know, how do you see good list building? Carmen, it's doing things like this. Steve and I share a very similar database of clients that, you know, similar kind of size. We're collaborative, not competitive. I don't drill down into SEO or digital PR. And Steve doesn't do education pieces around the broader stuff. So this is a great collaboration for us to share lists, to share those abilities to, you know, to connect and add value to both of our client bases. So think about, you know, who have you got in your circle at the bottom?
I lost you.
See your social media posts, all of that kind of stuff. Really drill down and start to work on your community. It's the biggest thing that you can do. Jared, you can always contact me, mate. Just drop me an email. Steve, final thing I'm going to hand to you. I'm going to share the link for your course in the email with the recording, so that will go out as well. Steve's on LinkedIn and on Facebook, so you can eat with him. If you want to know more, drop me an email. Happy to share with you. Steve, final thoughts I'm going to hand to you before we wrap up.
Cool. So, yeah, let's establish topical authority, focus on brand. SEO is not dead yet, but its days are numbered. And if I'm saying that, like this is my world. So I've got to find another job now. Yeah.
I'm doing that, my friend. So stay tuned for everyone and watch what Steve's up to, because he is in the process of solving loneliness for our elderly population. And on that, I think that's a pretty nice mic drop to end the conversation with. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time, energy, participation this morning. Really appreciate you taking an hour out of your business. If you'd like more of these kind of webinars, please drop me a note and let me know what it is that you want to learn or that you're interested in. And, you know, I will do my best to find about people and get those conversations set up. So, Steve, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And folks, keep the conversation going. Throw it over on my Facebook page. Ask questions, have a chat, and I will see you all in the ether. Stay curious, keep playing with AI, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, team.
Thank you.